As we seen in the last class, we have created branches for everything. So we have created 4 branches only. And if you want to see all the branches, you can see the list. So there were like 1, 2, 3, 4. But yesterday it was 6th class, but I didn't create a branch, or I didn't push these changes to the branch. Just now I created a changes. And if you see the Git branch, you can see the list of classes, which is class 6. So till yesterday, what are the changes were done in that branch, you can see it. And if you want to commit it, this is how you do a commit. Git commit -m. So, but like today also we need to have some changes. So class 6 and class 7 together we can push. But to make it easy, I can do a git commit -m string ops. So what are the string operations were done? This is how you commit. So first you create a branch. Then like you do the git branch to see which branch it is focusing. So and after seeing the statuses, you can do a git commit. So it was committed. Then if you do a git push, that is how you pushes the code. But when you're doing a push, you don't know where to push, right? So you want to push to your branch only. Every time make a note of this point, very strong. You are not supposed to push to a different branch. So when you're pushing, every time you should push to your branch, whichever you have created. And how to move the code from one branch to another? That is a process of pull request. That is a best practice that everywhere you need to follow. That is what happens in industry wide. If I do like, git push setup stream so and so, it will do a setup once such that every time when you do a git push, it will try to push to this. I would say that that's not a good idea. I would say like git push origin. If you do like a git push origin class 06, this is the best way. You will not be, having any problem. It is a spelling mistake. Origin class. This is how you need to push every time. So to make a list of all the points every time. So daily we will learn about this git, so that slowly you will understand the git more. So first, if you do like git checkout -b new branch name. So after that, if you do like a git branch, you can see the list of branches within it where it is active, and you do make changes. After your changes were done, you do a git status. You found like what changes are done. You do git add the specific file or folder individually. Then if you do like a git commit -m, so commit message means what are the string operations or what are the things for done. Then you do a good push origin. So new branch name, whatever the new branch you have created with the same branch name you need to do. Then the code will go there. After, as you have done the git push right now, if I do a clear and if I say like a git status, it is saying that still you have some content, means you didn't push much. So git add, if I do like this now, so git status again, you see these 2 files were added now. So earlier without doing I did the same process. Now with doing git, after doing a git status, I added staged git commit -m string operations. I pushed all the code. Then if I do a git push origin class 06, in Linux, the best practice, whenever you are in the terminal, it will give you the branch name also. Git push origin class 06. Oh, spelling mistake again. Origin 06. What is saying? Hey, so enumerating 8 objects, I am passing all of them. Then after doing everything, you can do like a verification. Git status. If you see, the branch is clean, nothing is to push. So all the code was gone. If I go back to this, you can see now a new branch will be created. Did you see a new branch was created? Class 6. So this is how you see the branches. You come here to the code. you can see a new branch was created. And if you do a pull request, so what were the changes which were done? See, from class 6 to the main, if you want to do, you can tell. So if you create a pull request branch, by the way, you can add some comments also. So generally in real time, we will have reviewers to review it. So we will have like multiple reviewers. You see here, reviewers are there. In this case, there is only one person, me. So there is no concept. But generally, once you do it, you can do a merge pull request. And if I do like a merge pull request, it happens. In real time, multiple people will give approvals. Once multiple people approvals, then we can do. In real time, what happens? At least 2 to 3 members they expect you to review and give an approval. So then only they merge. So that's how different strategies are there, every organization. You can see pull request was successfully merged and closed. Pull request was closed, merged and closed. Means like the code was moved. Now if you see, so if you see that, latest changes which were done, 2 minutes back, string operations were class, class 6, right? So individual, if you want to see the classic changes, you can go here. So, or you can see all of them here together. Now, so the same thing, so we will go again. If I go ahead, yeah. Now, if you want to create one more branch, today is like class 7. So what is the process again? To repeat, so git checkout -b, so class 07. Now it will create one more branch. If I say git branch, you can see the list of all the branches and which of the branch which is active, it will show in a color and also a star also before it. You can see git, so 7 branch, it is active right now. Now within this branch, what we need to do? Yesterday we stopped that we want to do a real-time use case where we want to make use of the string reversal. To understand better, I told that if you take a string in runtime, if you do a colon colon -1, you will get a reverse of the string. Now, if you compare both the things, your text string and the reverse string, you will understand something. To run this program, we need to go to this particular path, wherever this is. So clear the screen and Python space b so and so. If I give like, dad, you can see the test string is also dad, which we have given. Both are comparing. So when you're displaying two values, and if you want to check whether both are equal or not, there is one built-in operator called as equivalence. There is a relational operator called as equivalence. This equivalence will tell you a very good, interesting point to us. Every time when you give two values, it will check whether both are equal in terms of their value or not. If now I repeat the same process, if I give the same dad, did you see the first value and the second value coming and the next it is saying true? If say I'm doing the same thing and I'm giving daddy, if I do daddy and if I do a reverse, both were not equal. So that it is saying false. So based upon this condition, we can write a if condition. If condition means in Python, it's very easy. Whatever the condition you write, after the if you write it. If that is correct, then say that, it is the string is, so, test string, right? Test string is palindrome. So else test string is not a palindrome. Hope I did a small statement. Now it's much more easy for you to understand. If I give the same dad, you can say that dad is a palindrome. And if I do the same thing, like, daddy, you can see daddy is not a palindrome. And if I say like, mom, it's a palindrome. So whichever is palindrome, you will get it like a palindrome. If not, so and so. This is how I start a small program and slowly develop it. After this particular program, if you go focus further on the string ops, we have something on the attributes. So how we have worked on these things. like string operations. The next one is attributes. So instead of .py file, ipynb, if I do, I create a new IPython notebook. So once I created this one, I can start with a kernel because it will not run in the terminal, right? I can just do here. What is this I want to do? I told Python is a object-oriented programming language. So first, to understand about the string attributes. Hope you all are aware what are attributes. If not, I can explain now. Python, we call it as an object-oriented programming language. Means everything in the world we treat like an object, right? So how do you treat something as an object? When you can recognize it by a particular shape, color, texture, different entities, right? Based upon different things. So based upon each of that, each object has a particular usage also. That's what we learned, that also information. In the same fashion, string is also one object. String also has some usages. And if you want to get the usage of string, there is a built-in function called as dir. Not just for string, for any data type, it is there. So initially, if you define any variable, see, if you define any variable, you can get the value and you can get the type using type built-in function. Similarly, if you want to get the total number of characters which are present in the string, so there is one more built-in function called as len. Len is a built-in function to get the length of the string, means how many characters it has. Whereas one more built-in function is there called as id, which is to tell the address location where this part is present. So generally, this address location is to identify about the object. It will not tell much about that. So every time if you create a new object or the same object, if you reload also, if you create a .py file and run 10 times, you will not get the same value because we don't know where this address location will be stored. But it will help us down the line when you're doing object level checks and others. Now, lastly, in the same lines, to get the attributes, I told there is something called as dir. If you want to get the attributes, the dir function will help us. And this dir will give you different results based upon the data type. If you give the same, so earlier also I showed, if you give integers, it will give a separate things, string separate things like that. And also, if you can list out all the attributes, you have a good number of attributes, which has like both underscores. Certain attributes have underscores on either side. Certain attributes don't have underscores on either side. There were a very big number of things. These don't have an underscores on either side. So generally, attributes, if I can define as two types. One is things which have underscores on either side and things we don't have. Mostly we don't touch the things which have underscores on either side because they were alternatively implemented. To understand more about it, to understand more about it, attribute is a usage if someone didn't understand. Let me take a particular example called as add. So with this string, if I do an add, I can do some usage with this object. What all usage I will shortly. If let's say I have two strings, one string which is defined say in a single quotes also I can define, in double quotes also I can define. In Python it doesn't matter, right, whether you define something with a single quotes or double quotes. In both the ways you can define. Say if you want to add these two strings, there are two ways which you can do. We can do like a string 1 plus string 2. We can add and assign to a value. Means don't you see that here I used a operator called as plus. So this is how we generally do in real time, right? On a pen and paper also we do in the same way. But in Python, what happens is that in the backend, whenever you're doing executing like this, it will do in this way. So for the string one object, it will take an attribute called as underscore add, and it will do the second one. So that's the reason when you execute, you will get a combination of both. Now, did you see this is one of the attribute? So one of the usage of strings is with an attribute called as add, where you can add with another string. This concept is called as string concatenation. So whether you do with plus operator or this underscore underscore add, both will do the same job. See, if I was given you a choice, so will you go with using a plus operator or underscore underscore add? Definitely. So using underscore underscore add or plus. Definitely using plus because it is more user friendly, right? We human beings are more comfortable. So the moment we came from the schooling, we are more comfortable with these kind of things. So that's the reason things which have underscores on either side we will not touch more. Let me give you one more example. If you want to calculate the length of any string, till now we know that there is a length built-in function, right? So whenever you call the length built-in function, so it will call this attribute. Sir, why this length is working on strings but not with a list? Sorry, not with the integers, which we did earlier means the integers don't have this attribute called as underscore underscore length. As strings have this attribute, we are able to call the length built-in function. Means whenever you call the length built-in function, it will call this attribute only. So if you do in either ways, using a function or using an attribute, both will work. See, every underscore attribute has a alternate implementation in different ways. If I take like one more example, say the next example is about string repetition, which is very unique in Python, where very few languages support multiplication between a string and an integer. And of course, if you use a floating point value, it doesn't work. Only with integers it works. If you multiply a string with an integer, the same string will come those many times repeated. That's what is called a string repetition operation. Either you can apply that like this or using underscore underscore mul of 5. In both the ways, you can do the same thing. Or if you want to convert something to a string, language is a variable which is a string. But in fact, if you want to again convert to a string, you need to use str built-in function or underscore underscore str. So as a user, we are comfortable either use the operators or built-in functions rather than these attributes, right? That's the reason these underscore underscore attributes are seldom used. Next, there is one more type of string representation called as REPR, means raw representation. At this moment, you may not understand much differences, but down the line, when you go to the exceptions and others, you will understand what is the raw representation means. But for this tense, I would tell like this that REPR is for machines, whereas STR is for human beings. So mark this word, you will learn more about it afterwards. But the only difference you can observe is that whenever there is a string printed, it will have an extra quotes to represent it rawly. So for an ordinary STR, you don't have see a quote around, right? Generally, when you do a print statement, for a string, there will not be quotes after printing, print statement result. But REPR result will have a quotes. That's one difference. Okay, like this, if you have seen, we have seen quite number of things. But at the same time, if I go further on these attributes, so if I say the list, if I do dir again, you can see a good number of list. And if I go into the text editor, so if I ignore the things which have underscores on either side, still there were a lot of attributes are there. So totally 80 attributes were there. In those attributes, we are ignoring the first 33 because we do alternatively in other ways. So we have these many attributes right now. Attribute means usage. Instead of learning in a alphabetical order, it's better to learn in based upon their usage, such that you can do more. So what is their usages? If you have a given string, for that string, if you want to do different kinds of cases, there are cases like, if you are given a string, you see the string which I gave has a first letter capital, Python, and the space, and the first letter capital, means both the words first letter is capital. This kind of case is called as title case. That's the reason the first output and the third output are same. Because I gave an input which is of particular title case. Next, going further. Similarly, if I have one more thing called as a capitalize. In capitalize, did you see only the first word, first letter is capital? So in title case, every word first letter is capital. Uppercase means everything is uppercase. Lowercase means everything is lowercase. Whereas swap case means whatsoever the case in the original value, the first value is capital, so it will be small. If I give anything like that, it will just reverse the case. Wherever it is capital, it will convert to lower. Wherever it is lower, it will convert to capital. Next. At the same time, if you go a step into the non-English characters, so there is something called as, in German language, there is something called as Z. I would give an equivalent in Telugu. We call it as there is a bandira. So I don't know, every language has some characters which are over the period of time replaced with something else. So in German, there is something called as this S. In the old German, still it is there. So in the new German, they are replacing it with the S's, two S's. So you see here, yes, two S's. The symbol itself is saying is S. So that kind of case folding is there. Every language has this particular ways. We were going for English, it makes no sense, but in non-English characters, there were a lot of things. For their cases, this K lower case will just do lower, or case fold means it will convert to the replacement characters. Hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Case fold means like it will convert to the corresponding characters. So based upon the language, if you know more about the French, you can try with the French. But I know a bit of German, so that's why I tried there. In the same fashion, okay, so we know till now that what are the different types of cases. But if you want to check something is of a particular case, that's where like you come here. If I have this string, I'm checking that, hey, is it a title case? Yes, the word which I gave is a title case. First letter capital in every word, right? I gave a title case. In the same lines, you can check like whether something is an uppercase or something is a lowercase, like that. So the beauty here is that, let's say I have taken a test word called as like this. I have capital alphabets, numbers are there, hash is there. I'm asking, is it upper? Means it will not check for the presence or absence of any other characters. So dot uppercase should be present and lowercase should absent. That's it. Whether it has extra numbers or alphabets or spaces, it doesn't matter. You are saying is upper means it should have uppercase alphabets and there should not be lowercase alphabets. That's the main point. So if I say like, in terms of lower also in the same lines, you will understand. In the case of is lower, did you see that it has in both capital and lower, right? In this case, it has lower only. And apart from that, there are few other things. And observe in the third case, interestingly, it don't have a lower. Means whenever you're checking for lower, at least one lower case should be there. And so the other one should be there, not be there, sorry. So the uppercase means, right, at least one uppercase should be present and lowercase should not be present. So the vice versa for is lower also. This is how the rules works. In the same fashion, if you want to check for something whether it is a particular digit or not. So is it a digit? Means it's a numbers, right? So we can say the is digit is there. You can check that is digit. If I say like is digit, you can notice that this is a number, so it says true. Is it a digit? You have a negative before it. It is saying is digit false. Means if we have white spaces in the end or in middle or it has something else, it is, in all these cases it is saying non-digit. Even if I have a negative value, to be precise, it's a number, right? Negative number you should specify, but still the same. Whereas there is one more thing called as is numeric. So they introduced one more thing called as is numeric. What is this is numeric doing? So similar to the digit, but with a slight difference. So this came recently, some 2 versions back. Yeah. If I see the same example, Did you notice? Same digit, same thing only. So uh, everything were like false. Even the negative is also getting false. So numeric and is digit both are like almost same. Next, you have one more thing, like if you want to check for presence of alphabets, there is one more thing called as is alpha. You see, in this case, it's very interesting to understand. Is it containing only alphabets? Yes, only alphabets, capital or lower. Yes, true. Apart from alphabets, it has anything else, it will not allow. Similarly, if you want to check for alphanumerics, so whenever you do like username validations, sign up username validations or something, so you need all these things. So whenever user is giving a REST API some data, we need to serialize. All validations we can do like this. Alphanumeric doesn't mean that it should contain both alphabets and numerics. Max it can contain both of them. So apart from that, if it contains anything else, it will be false. If it contains only integers or only numbers also, so only strings, this also alphabets also it works. So similarly, if I say like E space, so whether it has one space or any number of spaces, it works. But apart from space, if you have something else, then it will say false. Hope it's clear. In the same lines, there is one more built-in function called as ASCII. So among the 64 built-in functions, I am slowly introducing each function at a time. There is one more built-in function. This is not an attribute. See the difference between attribute and a built-in function. Attribute means I call with a dot, right? So this is a built-in function for converting anything to an ASCII. Hope you know the story of ASCII, right? American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Very simple to understand. Whatever you see on a typical English keyboard, those are all ASCII characters. If you see any other character apart from that, that is a Unicode. Means if you give any characters which are Unicode or something else, they try to convert to the ASCII. So ASCII don't know what is an alpha, Greek characters and others. They represent with their Unicode characters. So Unicode numbers. So ASCII built-in function will do the same. Why I told this is that there is one more attribute for us. So with that attribute also, we can check the same. So ASCII means we will convert. So is ASCII means we will check. In is ASCII, we will check whether it is all ASCII characters or not. All ASCII characters. What are is highlighted is are all on a typical English keyboard, right? So not just alphabets and numbers. These are also ASCII characters only. And similarly, any character is printable. Hope you remember I told some concept called as escape sequences. Means these were the characters when you display, they will not display them values, but they display the actual essence. Means they will have an effect. That effect you will be seeing. Whether it is printable or not, that you can see. Means exactly if you want to see. And there is one more built-in function. So attribute called as is identifier. So means if you want to check whether we can create a variable with a particular name or not. So every variable when you're creating should not have a dollar before it. Or like I gave a different kinds of use cases. You can just walk through it. So hope you remember we have discussed on all kinds of things like this. When I'm defining a name, I told all these things. So a name can be starting with a alphabet or a number. So alphabet or an underscore, but not a number. But alpha underscore can be at anywhere, numbers can be anywhere. Or so wherever it is true, it will say true. I just placed all so that you will understand. If you start with a number or a dollar or if you have a hyphen, these are all false. So for this also they have an attribute, just to show you. And last but not the least, in the attributes, one interesting point is, let's take that particular language. This is a variable we have taken. So we are using it for a lot of times. And you remember we have something called as forward indexing. I told in practical there is nothing like a reverse indexing in the backend. Only when you work with large values we use it. So when you are working with the large values, this will help us to understand. and decipher. Till now, we have worked on indexing. So we will work next on this. Yeah. As I showed you, till now we have seen if I was given a word colors language, and we know what is the concept of indexing. Indexing means what? You give one position and it will give the character at that position, right? This is what you know. And if you give any position, it will give the character at that position. But what if you want the reverse thing? Means you give the character and it will give the position. That is what is the concept of the find. So find is very interesting. If I do like a find of t, so wherever t is present, it will give it. Where t is present, so but like if it is a number, it is unique. Whereas a character means it may not be unique. Sometimes the same character may occur twice or thrice. Then it will give the first occurrence of that thing. It's just not like a single character, but like a subsequence you can see. Any character, if you ask, you can get it. And if you see in this case, if I ask where t is present, so the first occurrence from left to right when it is going, t is there. So it gave it. Whereas if I go for the next thing called as n, if I want to get the value where n is present, in this particular word called as Python programming, there are 2 times n is present in Python and also programming, right? 2 n's are there. Sir, what if I want the n, the first occurrence from left to right or first occurrence from right to left? For that, they introduce 2 things. There is find and rfind. Find will check from left to right, rfind will check from right to left. So whenever they are checking, the first occurrence it will give. And when rfind is checking, it doesn't mean that it will give a negative index. As I told you many a times, again and again, there is nothing like negative index. Just for our user convenience, we have that. So like this, it will happen. If I ask right now, so whenever I'm giving the find, I got the first occurrence from left to right. So whenever I'm doing rfind, I got the right last occurrence. And what are the occurrences there? It's forward indexing position only you will get. It's not that you get a negative index. In the same lines, we can also specify some kind of limits. Means we can tell like, hey, try to find the value after a particular limit. Means you can understand like this. You see in this example, you will notice. I am saying that, hey, find the value of n after 6. So, like from 6th position onwards till the end, you want to find the value of n, where it is present. After 6 means what? The first occurrence of p was already done. What is the next occurrence? You will get 16 only. If you want, I can repeat again if you ask. Similarly, if you ask r find of n comma 15, means, hey, in the r find means we are finding from right to left, right? When you are parsing from right to left, parse after the 15th location. Means before the 15th location, try to find where the n is present. Did you understand? Like that, we can specify a starting index, or we can give a starting and final index also. Means if you give a substring boundary, within that boundary also it can find. For this particular thing, you are asking to find the value of n between 6 and 17. From 6 till 17, you want to find any occurrence of thing. And how it is finds, if there are 2 or 3 also, it will give the first occurrence within them itself. So like that, we can give like this. And as it is easy for you to understand and digest a single character I give, but it doesn't mean that we should give only single character. It will take a substring also. When you give a substring, it will exactly expect the same pattern, PROG. Whether you do in a forward direction or reverse direction also same PROG. If you see PROG is there, but it may be like, you may not digest initially. From left to right we are going, PROG is valid, sir. It is starting from 7th position. But when you are passing from right to left, shouldn't we call it as GORP? No. We should call like this only. So you may not digest in the initial stage, but try to understand. Whether you pass from left to right or right to left, so it is PROG only, and it is starting at position 7 only. So this is what you need to understand. So next, to further, go ahead. Same like this. After these finding positions, there is one more thing called as the index. So the point of how we need to use the find for getting the position of any character or a substring. In the same fashion, they created one more thing called as a language.index. Same like index, we also have like R index also. We have seen the index, same like that R index is also there. And the same like that what we have done for a ordinary program. So means like a substring also we can do. So but do you think that they will be foolish to have two attributes for the same thing? Both are exactly serving the same purpose. Index, R index, same like find and R find. Means there is a difference. Certain times you want some characters to be present. If the characters are not present, you want to throw in error. Or certain times if the characters are not present, you want to handle in a different way. So in those cases, things will be different. Means till now you are searching for something which is present. But what if you are searching for something which is not present? That's where the both will differ. Whenever you are trying to find for something which is not present, if you say in the string called as language, is there a character called as Q? No. If I am asking for a character called as Q, say language.find of Q. Now I got it. What is saying? When you are asking for something which is not present, it will give a -1. As I told you many times, so Python don't have a negative index bar on its own. So negative index is for our facilitation. And if it gives -1, doesn't mean that the character is present in the last position, right? So -1, it will give find if the things are not present. In the same fashion, if we index, if you are asking for a character which is not present, then it will throw in error called as value error. Hope you remember this point. Similarly, the same thing works. For find, if you ask, give a substring which is not present, we have PROG. If you use PORG, it will say -1. If I do the same thing with the index again, it will throw a value error. Hope you understood the difference between these two attributes. Now, let's go for a very, very interesting topic called as string.strip. So you will really love it. The string.strip. What is the string.strip? How it can help us? So this attribute will help us clean a lot of things. I will give you first practical importance, then you will understand. Have you ever seen when you're going for a, entering username passwords? Don't you see that? Yes, some time back, people used to place in a, Excel sheets and they used to copy paste username passwords. Then later a period of time, they came with one pass and others. But still, we have this concept of copying and pasting. So until unless you go to the clipboard, the same problem comes. When you're copying something and pasting, so you will add some white spaces at the end, right? If you want that kind of things to be removed, that's where we need to understand. So to understand this attribute, let's say I have a string called as, Python production. And did you see the interesting thing is that it has a white space around it and in middle also. And if I print it, did you see the white space around it? No, because human eye can't understand it. So what is the best press? In Python, in interactive mode, the advantage is that even if you don't place print also, we can print something, right? But if you do like this, the one interesting point is you can see the space around it. Now with this, we can understand that there is a white space, right? So using this logic, I'll make use of this point. So I am taking the same string again, and I'm asking, hey, dot strip. Strip is one of the attribute. As the name suggests, it will strip the things. Strip means removing the things. What it will remove? White space. So is it only removes the white space? Yes, explicitly if you don't give. Means if you give like this also it will remove, or explicitly also you can give something. If I give explicitly, say something, say white space, then also it will remove. Or say, sir, if I remove explicitly give some other thing, say P I give. Now nothing was removed. What is the problem? So removes only at the end. Takes only at the end. In the end, there is no P, right? What is there in end first? There is a white space. Until unless you get about the white spaces, you cannot get to the P. So if you go for the thing right now, say I am taking, I think like I need to go for small p because it's a case sensitive, right? If I go for like small p, then it's gonna work. And apart from p, I can give a white space. Now, in this particular example, you need to understand that it will not check for the exact pattern. It will just check each characters individually. So how it works is like first it will go for p. Hey, do you have p in the left side? So no. Hey, do we have P in the right side? No. And then we have next character is space. Hey, do we have space in the left side? Yes. Then remove. Do we have space in the left side, right side? Then remove. So means as it has that, how it actually works, I will tell you. So you have this content. It will first take it. It will check for P in the left side. As nothing is there, it will not do. Right side, no. Then it will go for white space. Hey, do we have in the left side? Then remove all. Do you have in the right side? Then remove all. So now two characters were done. Again, it will come back to P. Hey, do we have P in the left side? Yes, remove them. Hey, do we have P in the right side? No. So like that it will do. And if you see in the output, did you see? Both the white spaces and P were removed. But at the same time, so in the spaces within it were not removed. Means every time it tries to do only in the particular direction, so ends only. And if you want to add like one more thing, say, if you want to remove say O also, and it doesn't matter, as I told, order doesn't matter, you can give in any way, it will work. So if I give O right now, is O at the end? No. So if you want to see, there is a O in middle and O at the end. But here, after end, at the end we have like N. So until unless you remove the N, you cannot remove O. So if I give like N, in the starting also, it doesn't matter. I told here, the positions doesn't matter. In every time recursively it will go to each of the character. If it is present at the ends, it will remove. So that's how you get to it. In the same fashion, if I go for say something like say T right now, can I remove T? No, because in the left side we have Y before it. If you remove that, then it will remove. And the beauty is that if I give Y right now, you see what will happen. So P is there, Y is there. So T already you have given. H you didn't give. So, but like that's why till H it has gone and waited. And if I give like something else, say if I give like H right now, as I told, I will give in different orders. The moment I give H, as it already know how to remove O, it has O. N is also there. White space is already there. It is removing. So like that, it will remove in the left and right side. So what if you want to remove only in the left or only in the right? If I say like L strip, then it will remove only in the left side. Did you see? And if I say the same thing with a R strip, means it will remove only in the right side. So if you ask me a practical usages, so there are quite good number of usages. Before going for them, I can list off three things which you'll understand. If you take this example, did you see that we have all A's only? And if I'm trying to strip A, then everything will be stripped. There is nothing left. And in the same example, if I do a slight difference, I add a B and I'm asking to remove both A and B. But don't you see that B will still be there? Can someone tell why B is still there? Though we have given A and B, we didn't remove the white space around it, right? So from the left and right side only, it will execute anything. If you are giving like A, first A will be all removed. So around the B, there is a white space, right? As highlighted, two white spaces. Until unless those white spaces are removed, it cannot go to the B. Hope it's clear for everyone. So if I give a white space right now, means in the string, if I give white space also, then it will remove entirely. And in this particular example, say if I go for the above example, and if I do like only L strip or only R strip, you can see it will remove in a particular direction. Only R strip means only in the right side it will delete anything. So that is how that L strip and R strip is there. So the real world examples, if you see, have you ever seen when you're doing any numbering, registration numberings, we will have a zero prepended, right? So just to make like we need to have n number of digits. So we will prepend with zeros. You remember? So when you're processing them, you don't need those numbers. Then you can do a L strip of the zeros. Generally, don't do R strip of zeros because a zero, if it is present in the right side, it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, as we came to this use case, there is one more thing that we can see here. So this is how you strip the characters, strip the zeros, right? But if you want to make some zeros to be present, there is something called as zfill. For the strings, there is one more attribute called as zfill. The zfill, how it works is, if I give like zfill of 3, it will execute. So there should be 3 characters minimum. So then that's why reason you got like this. Say, you see, I have like single cats. That's why I gave like this. You see. Now see, I will repeat the same one. If I give like the characters which are greater than that, say 4 characters, and if I give like 5 characters, then you will understand the difference. When I give zfill of 3, you got the same number. Means if the number of zfill characters, if you mention, and the string number is also having the same things, it makes no difference. But if it needs more, then we need to give. And it doesn't mean that zfill works only with numbers. We can have any other characters. Say I have say like ABC, and ABC I give, and I'm saying zfill. Means like in the string you can have anything. If the string length is less than what you have given, so it will pre-fill with the zeros. So then like if you want to replace them, there is again a replace function. So zfill with something else if you want to do, then we need to use replace. Before going there, let me tell you one more thing. So there is one interesting question as to how to convert a string to a list. This is very, very interesting. You have a string, and how do you convert a string to a list? There is a simplest way to do the things using split actually. Till now you know this concept of strip. Strip means what? Removing at the edges. Now I am using a new concept called a split. What is this concept of split means? I am taking the same word called as Python production and I am doing a dot split. Split will divide, as the name saying. How many white spaces are there? One space. So same like the strip, defaultly it will also do with the spaces only. If you give explicitly also, it will do. If you give explicitly also, it will do. So, but if you don't give any space, explicitly if you don't give anything, means if you do like empty like this, then it will throw an error. Hope you know the difference between this and this, right? Here you mentioned explicitly empty string. So in other case, you didn't mention. Okay, now we got a string with these things. Now, if I give some other character, say like I want to split with say O, or like say I want to split with say R. R is present only once. I want to split. The string before that and after that you are getting, but R is not present in the output, right? Observe carefully. Split is a one interesting thing where the character with which you are splitting will not present in the output. And if I'm trying to split with a D, did you notice? Before that and after that you're getting, but it's not coming further. Till now, I splitted with a character which is present only once. But what if I am trying to split for something which is present more than once? I am taking the example of T. Did you see T is present 2 times here? So wherever t is present, so before that, from this t to the next t, and after this t. So you got three parts. Means how many occurrences are there, those many splits will happen. So plus one values you will get. Similarly, if I go for something like a u is present only once. So that's why you get like this. Or if I go for something which is present twice, say in the case of like say, if I say capital P right now, till now, so P is occurring twice, and that too for the first time, P is occurring in the starting itself. Means a split will happen before that white space. There is nothing, right? So it will give like that. Similarly, if I do a split with a character which is present at the end, right side end, after that there is no character. So that's why you get like this. So this is how you split something. And as I told you, it doesn't mean that like you need to split with a single characters. We can split with multiple also, like a substring. And one interesting point will happen, I will tell here is that if you split with something which is present, substring exactly, then it will remove, uh, cut and give before and after. What if you give something which is not present? So then like PROD is there, PRDO is not there, right? This is where Python will excel. If you are trying to split with a character which is not present, either it can be like a substring or anything, you will get the same string. You see, in this example, I gave like a substring. I gave like, Q, which is not present. So I gave like a number which is not present. In all these cases, you get the entire string. Means whenever you're trying to split with something which is not present, instead of throwing error, it will do like this. So this is what it is. And also there is one of the interview questions for you to make a note of it. When you have like an empty string, so and if you are trying to split, so if there is a empty string or string with some white spaces and you are trying to split, you get like an empty string. But if you have a empty string, white space, and you're splitting away white space, you get two things. So this is one of the interview question actually. To help you better, I mentioned it. And one interesting point about this thing is that if you are trying to split, okay, so till now we are splitting means what? How many times it is occurring? Those many times it is splitting, right? So one interesting point I will tell you. Till now, when you're splitting, you are just telling that, hey, split. When you're trying to just split, it will try to split. How many times zeros are there? Those many times. If you see in this example, how many times zeros are there? Those many times it is splitting. And in the output, the character with this splitting is not coming. That is also clear. But at the same time, we can specify the max split count. Maximum how many times to split. I can give you the count like, hey, maximum split by one time, two times, three times. If I specify, it will split those many number of times. If you see in this case, only one time split was done. That's why two parts came. In this case, two times split was done. So the three parts came. And in the next case, you got like four times split. Sorry, the three times split was done. That's why you got four parts. And what if you give like, split by four times? Means the one last time also it will do. It is same like what you have done with the things. So what if I gave like five times right now? Can I give like five times also? Yes, you can give five or even 55 also you can give. I give not just 5, 55 I give. But it doesn't matter. Maximum how many only it will do that much, right? So now one point I want to bring to your notice is that whenever you're doing a split, if you don't specify the max split, it will give the maximum number of split it can do. But if you specify explicitly, it will do that much times. Next, one more point during the point of split is that I want to bring to see here. If you are telling that max split, how it is happening? From the left to right direction, the split is happening, right? The first occurrence of zero, it is splitting. In the same fashion, there is something called as R split. This R split will do one split only, but in right direction. So if you can observe that, this is the right direction, right? In right direction, it is happening. Means first occurrence in the right to left, it will split and you get the answer. Hope you understood the difference, what I'm trying to say. If you have any doubt, please ask me. I can help you all. Similarly, if I give like one more example, see here, if I'm doing a split by 0, so 3 means 3 times you split from left to right. Split by 3 times from right to left. You know, the same split if you do, but if R split and right, yeah, this split will make a difference. Hope you understood the difference. Okay. And next, one more asked interview question is like this. If you have a string like this, and if you're splitting by a comma, so everyone has a comma, so you get like this. What if you have like multiple commas? So you get like a between two commas there is nothing. So that's why you got a empty space. So if any character is there, it works like this. But in Python, so we have the white space. So the default is white space, right? So if you have a default and if you don't give anything, you see, if there are one white space also, you get like this. If there are multiple white spaces, see here, in that case also, you get the 3 characters only. Hope you understood what I'm trying to say. If you have ordinary characters and if you are splitting with those characters, if there are multiple such characters and there is nothing between them, you get a white space, right? Whereas if you have white spaces and if you don't specify explicitly, even if there are any number of white spaces also, it can handle it. So that's one thing. But if you give explicitly, you see, if for the same thing, if there are those many white spaces, you got those many empty strings, right? That is what I want you to be aware of. So if you don't give explicitly, it can do certain things for us in a better way. And one more last thing, this is one of the interview questions again. When you're doing a R split, you know, so split or R split, generally we give a character. So when you're in the process, if you don't give any character, you give like a none and you are trying to split once. So it's not doing anything because you gave a none. Even none is an attribute which will take. So these will not throw any error. These were interview questions, that's why I'm mentioning. Okay, as you know right now about this one, split means to divide. How many times it is dividing? Any number of times. How many times the characters is present? Those many times it will divide. Similarly, there is one more thing called as partition. But the beauty of partition is slightly different. So split and partition, if you see the difference, it's very easy. Split means what? How many times you have, those many times it will divide. Whereas partition will divide only once. And observe, if you see the output also, you can understand. Split will give a list, whereas a partition will give a tuple. If you don't know tuple, that is another data type. List is also another data type, which you will know shortly afterwards. The braces will tell us to understand. If something is in this parenthesis, it is a tuple. And if something is in a square braces, it's a list. And also in split, the character with which we are splitting is not present in the output. But in partition, the character with which you are splitting is also present in the output. Similarly, so if I do partition by one more character, you see in this example, here also same thing happens. The character with which you are splitting will be not be present in the output, whereas character with which you are splitting will be present. Means if some character is present one time or any number of times, it works in the same way. Say, generally, if I do split with a character which is present more than one time, what will happen? Say like this time, let's take an example of, give me one character which is present more times, T. Okay. If I take the example of a T, and here also if I take the example of a T, you will notice the difference. When you take the example of a T, did you notice that how many times it has splitted? 3 parts. If something is become 4 times also, it can split. Whereas partition will split every time to a 3 parts only. It doesn't matter however you do, it will split into 3 parts only. Similarly, if I go with the example of, say this example, say 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1, and I am splitting by say 1. If I split by 1, I'll get like this, right? Similarly, for this, if I do a partition, did you see what happened? So by the first occurrence it is doing, and you got a 3 values. What if you want to get in the reverse direction? We have something called as R partition. The first occurrence onwards in the right side it will do. So Python works, partition works like this. Whenever you want like that, you can do partition and R partition. Both will work. Hope now we understood. In which case to use means in real world when you are working, you will get different use cases where you want something like this. Then you can make use of these things in that particular cases. In the same lines, how to convert string to a list? The question again back. How to convert a string to list means till now we know using split operation we can convert. But there is another built-in function called as a list. If I give a list is a built-in function, if you apply on any string, it doesn't matter whether it has numbers or alphabets or anything. It will take each of the character individually and convert. So in the same lines, there is one more built-in function called as tuple for converting anything to a tuple. And in the same lines, we have one more thing called as a set. These are in fact data structures which you learn afterwards. So we can use this for converting anything. Okay. Lastly, before closing, we have seen till now how to split everything. Using split, we can partition. Using strip, we can remove the things. All these things we have seen. Now, lastly, seeing about how to join them together. How do you convert a list of strings to a single string? So generally, if you have like multiple strings, how do you join them? Can I use a plus operator? Yes, right. I can use a plus operator to join all the strings which I have. If I use a plus operator, all the strings can be joined. But how many pluses you will use? And if you have some white space in middle, so you need to add. Okay, in this case, you have 3 words. What if you have 10 words, 20 words, 30 words? Will you add every time plus operation? It's a crazy thing. So to avoid this problem, so they came up with one solution called as delimiter.join. But the most common problem as a beginner you will do is that you will do like this. This is the most important common problem. You need to understand that. So a delimiter.join will take the values, but it will not take this kind of loosely. So it will take anything like a list. This braces from now you need to understand. This is called as a list. Either you can take a list or a tuple. As you don't know tuple and set at this moment, don't use at this moment. Use only list. I will tell you why afterwards. If you use like this, it will join. No matter how you give, it can join like that. And in the process, I am telling you how I'm doing the delimiter. In middle, if you want something that we can specify, that is called as a delimiter. If I specify, correspondingly, I will get that in the output when I'm joining. If I have like multiple values and if I joining, see here in this case, if I want to join all of them with a 0 in middle, I can specify that. And in the same fashion, if I want to join all of them with an ampersand, I can join that. But one thing you need to be aware is that if one of them is not an integer, see everything should be a string actually. If one of them is not a string, then it will not do it. This is what most important you need to do. All should be of string types only. That's the most important thing. And similarly, so I think there is a one fun part is that we know how to divide, how to join. So one of the person made use of this together. So if I'm splitting by something, in the output you will not get the character which we should, right? And when you're joining, we are joining with that character. So the fun part is that if you are splitting with a character and joining with another character, it is indirectly replacing it, right? But in fact, in Python, you don't need like this kind of complications for replacing something. We have a better way of for replacing something. If you have some character and if you want to replace, you can use this thing called as replace. And it doesn't mean that you will replace the entire things. You can individually specify like how many times you want to replace also. Say in this example, I want to replace all the values of A with B. then it will replace all the values of A with a B. But in the same thing, if I want to replace A with B, but only 2 times, I specified called 2. The first 2 times it has replaced. Now, an assignment, small thing for you is that how to check, how to replace from right to left. Like that. So it's a small assignment for you. So with this, I want to stop here. We can come back tomorrow again. You can see that one file was modified, one file was newly added. So if I want to add them, so the best way is like, copy that and do. And if you do a right click, you can copy it. Git add. So whatever is there, you just copy and do a right click and again a right click. So one right click for copying, another right click for pasting. So if I do a git status, you can see the list of things. And I want to push to class 7. So git commit -m. If I say that, string attributes, if I say, so it will do like a git push. So, and git push. So origin. What is this, our class name? Class07. If I do, the code will go. So now you see the code here. It gives a pull request. Again, the same process you need to follow. So if I give the string attributes, say like, class 07 string attributes. If you leave on any comment, you can write what all things we have done. We can give a pull request. So the process goes. No pull request is created. If there are any reviewers, they will review it. And if you want to merge, you can merge it. At the same time, before merging, if you write any number of pull requests also, it will work. Say like if you do anything else also, it will work.